All right, supporter listeners. All right, supporter listeners. All right, supporter listeners, I'm here today with Laur Wright. And you know, one of the things that we have been exploring and figuring out how to talk more about and think about differently is this concept of delivery model. What does that mean? How efficient is it? What is your organization's? And the importance of understanding it, even if you're in a service business. The importance of understanding it, even if you're part of service business. The importance of understanding it, even if you're part of some, if you're part importance of understanding it, even if you're understanding it, even if you're part of understanding it, even if you're part of somebody else's distribution model, because it's going to be in those moments that you're going to be able to embrace and move forward and really make a difference. So Laur Wright has founded and runs the Epic at runs the Epic at Sales, runs the Epic at runs the Epic at Sales. And not only is she like, not only sales. So not only is she like understanding this concept of what are all the pieces of our delivery model, she's also really great at talking about and sharing with us the mindset pieces around sales at the same time. And I'm really excited to have Laura here with me today. Thanks, Laura.
Oh, thank you for having me. Oh, thank you for having me. Oh, thank you for having me. This is stuff I could do all day long. Oh, thank you for having me. This is stuff I could do all day long. Let's just talk. Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. This is stuff I could. Thank you for having me. This is stuff I could do. For having me. This is stuff I could do all. Having me. This is stuff I. Thank you for having me. This is stuff I could do all day long. Let's just. Oh, thank you for having me. This is stuff I could do all day long. Like, let's just talk about sales, business, all the pieces that go with it. Let's do that.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Exactly. Yes. Okay. You know what? I know this is weird, but all
Gorgeous. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. I am. And my curls are to each and every single one of them.
They march to the beat of their own drum. And also, you'll know why I have short hair, because my hairdresser, I didn't dry it today, but I have curly hair back here.
That's awesome.
I get some like longer waves in the front, and she finally, like, my gal knows how to cut it so that, like, when it goes like this and then goes like that. So we cut it so it just goes like that, as opposed to it gets that crunky, funky. Yeah. These are important things, ladies. Important things about being in business and showing up and feeling good.
Well, they are. And by the way, it's important for everybody, because I have to tell you, my hair is way curlier than this. I'm trying to figure out a way to loosen my curls. So the back of my head is incredibly curly, and usually my whole head is curly. But there's some things that we have to do: lipstick, curls, and just go, all right, everybody, we're coming along. And some of us have to do that with the stuff that's between our ears. I do that with the curls on my head.
That is such a great analogy. And it's true. I call it putting on your Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
And that is such a great analogy. And it's true. I call it putting on your Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's not just the external Wonder Woman costume. It's actually feeling it in your body and like feeling your most powerful self. And P.S., I work with like primarily women. So any man who might be hearing this, put on your superhero costume.
That's right. I was going to say, everybody in our audience knows we're interchangeable.
Sales, business, all the pieces that go with it. Let's do that.
Exactly. Okay, thanks, Laura.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is stuff I could do all day long. Like, let's just talk about sales, business, all the pieces that go with it. Let's do that.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. You know what? I know this is weird, but all
gorgeous. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous. Gorgeous. You're gorgeous. True. I call it putting on your Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's not just the external Wonder Woman costume. It's actually feeling it in your body. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. I am. And my curls are to each and every single one of them. Okay. You know what? I know this is weird, but all
gorgeous. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. I am. And my curls are to each and every single one of them.
True. I call it putting on your Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's not just,
this is weird, but all.
Let's just talk about sales, business, all the pieces that go with it. Let's do that.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. You know what? I know this is weird, but all.
Gorgeous. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. You know what? I know this is weird, but all.
Gorgeous. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. I am. And my curls are to each and every
business, all the pieces that go with it. Let's do that.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. You know,
talk about sales, business, all the pieces that go with it. Let's do that.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. You know what? I know this is weird, but all.
Gorgeous.
This is weird, but all.
Gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. I am. And my curls are to each and every single one of them.
True. I call it putting on your Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's not just the external Wonder Woman costume. It's actually on your superhero costume.
That's right. I was going to say, everybody in our audience knows we're interchangeable with whatever comes out, because the words that we interchangeable with whatever comes out, because the words that we use matter and they still apply to everybody. I'm telling you, that's great, Laura. So when did you realize matter and they still apply to everybody? When did you realize everybody? When and they still apply to everybody. When did you realize that, and this will be kind of like our starting point, when did you realize that point? When did you when did you realize words that we use matter and they still apply to everybody? When did you realize that this concept of the entire delivery model actually mattered to the sales process? Because most companies look at them separately.
Yes. Okay. So here's I'm going to describe it in a,
because most companies look at them separately.
I'm going to describe it.
Mattered to the sales process, because most companies look at them separately.
I'm going to describe it in a story. So
companies look at them separately.
I'm going to describe it in a story. So I would get clients who would come to me and be like,
because most companies look at them separately.
So I would get clients who would come to me and be like, I want 10 clients. Like that would be like their full client roster. And they would try to go out and get like all 10 clients in a month. They would become completely overwhelmed and crushed. In fact, I'll give you an example. One of my clients was a virtual assistant agency, and we supported her. One of my clients was a virtual assistant agency, and we supported her. She brought in 30 new clients, and we supported her. She brought in. We supported her. She brought in 30 new clients in 1 month. Virtual assistant agency, and we supported her. She brought in 30 new clients in 1 month, and 15 left the next month and 15 stayed. And here's what actually happened. Her capacity to bring on clients was different than her capacity to serve them in the onboarding process. So the 15 that left actually didn't get the service that they felt they bought. And I want to explain what I mean is, it wasn't that you were giving something good, it was that it didn't match. And then the other thing happened. Feast and famine shows up every time we do too much capacity. So the thing that I usually train my clients on is we'll look at there's 2 reasons why this, like 12 reasons probably, why this makes everything work right. Is one, we want to know, what does like a full client roster or capacity look like for you? And when we actually fill you up and know your proper onboarding, we can create wait lists. We can create like just that power of people being like, ooh, I'm the chosen one. I get this one spot you have open this month. That's really client attractive. But also we give better service. So a great example is, one of my gals has a Facebook ads agency. She does high level, high vibe, people doing big things in the world. And she can only onboard 2 clients at any given time. And when she came to me, she had like 24 people she was managing, and it was this mess. And so every time she would sell a new person, it was like funky in the start because she was putting too many people in. Once we made it 2, two magical things happen, like 12 magical things. One, she now does not have client roll off. So just by having a steady cadence of bringing clients in and serving them, they come in, she retains them longer. She doesn't have this portion where, like, if you brought in 10 clients all at once, all 10 clients would end at the same time, and then you create feast and famine. And the other thing is, she gets to nurture those clients as they come on. Their onboarding process is like a magical experience, and they fall in love, they get great results. And now she can tell people there's only 2 spots. So if you're on a sales conversation with me and you want to get started this month, it's now, or you might have to wait 2 or 3 months. And we now have her with a wait list, and a wait list is powerful. So I think really understanding what is your capacity to deliver, as well as what's your capacity to sell, and having those 2 things match up will make your sales flow better and your delivery flow better.
And just staying right there, then, that means there are more parts of that, and where they connect together. There are more parts of that means there are more parts,
and your delivery flow better.
And there are more parts of that, and where they connect together. So the next level in is, okay, we've got the clients that are coming in, and we've got the ability to service them. And what is the we've got the ability to service them. And what is the next most important thing for the cohesion piece?
Okay, I think this is how I want to say it. Never forget that the sales process actually
for the cohesion piece.
Never forget that the sales process actually never ends. So we think that sales happens in that moment where the client says yes. Actually, sales is happening every single time you say something is going to happen for a client, and it actually happens. So I think setting and managing expectations is really important. I think also that once somebody has, they've purchased, they are now. I think also that once somebody managing expectations is really important. Once somebody has is really important. Once somebody has, they've purchased, setting and managing expectations is really important. Once somebody has purchased, they are now onboarded, then the client delivery. If you say there's going to be a call on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, you need to deliver a call on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. If you say there's going to be something that is shipped to them, it needs to be shipped to them on the time. There's space that you can make some adjustments. Like, I'm a big fan of, I like to over deliver without promise of over delivering, so that anytime I actually do need to change something, I have a lot of more freedom and flexibility. And then I also think helping people understand that the customer service portion of taking care of your clients is part of sales. So a really great example is, I know where I fit into the channel. Like, I do the outward marketing, and that means just the face of it, not the actual like writing and the doing pieces. I come into the sales component, so I'm having the conversations with our highest level clients. And then I hand them to my team to send out the agreements, to onboard them. Sometimes I'm doing a delivery piece where I like do sometimes I'm doing a to onboard them. I'm doing a delivery piece where I like do a virtual VIP day or a physical one. But the other thing is, I want to make sure that my customer service team, when they're responding to questions, like people getting access to programs, or when they come to programs, when they come in, they or access to programs, or when they come in, they're not getting, well, we'll figure it out later. They're getting the response of, I can't wait to help you. I'm excited for you to be a part of our community. Every piece needs to actually match up.
My assistant number one has decided to be loud in the back. My assistant number one has decided to be loud in the background.
Barking assistant?
Barking.
Yes, we have one of
That's
those
right.
as well.
So Scott will be able to take that part out, I think, unless I'm talking while he barks. So the way of the world, the way of the world. That's really interesting. And
programs, or
that's really interesting.
Come in, they're not getting, well, we'll figure it out later.
My assistant number one has decided while he barks. So the way of the world, the way of the world. That's really interesting, and to understand that. So
I can't wait to help you. I'm excited for you to be a part of our community. Every piece needs to actually match up.
That's really interesting, and to understand that. So you, and of course you're at a level that, so you, and of course you're at a level
Part of our community. Every piece needs to actually match up.
and of course you're at a level that you,
every piece needs to actually match up.
and of course you're at a level that you have other people that plug into that process.
Yeah. Yes. I was going to say, and before I did,
have other people that plug into that process.
And before I did,
have other people that plug into that process.
And before I did, so my very first business, I sat down, and this I think is really important.
You have other people that plug into that process.
And before I did, so my very first business,
plug into that process.
So my very first business, I sat down, and this I think is really important. My very first business, I my match up.
And of course you're at a level that you have other people that plug into that process.
My very first business, I sat down and I did a business organization chart. And my business organization charts don't look like everybody else's. Everybody else's is usually like a triangle where it goes into departments. Mine are like swirly and have things. And I identified every single role inside of my business. And then guess what I did? I put my name in every single role in my
That's
business.
right.
And then as soon as I was able to hire someone in every single role in my
That's
business.
right.
And then as soon as I was able to hire someone into one of the roles, their name went into that role. But what I didn't do was what I think so many solopreneurs do is they become Jacks or Jills of all trades, and they're doing everything in their business, but they don't actually understand when they're in marketing mode, if they're in sales mode, if they're doing customer service, if they're doing any of the pieces like doing any of the pieces like CFO work, COO work, any of the pieces inside of your business. I knew when, even if it was me, the only person doing it, I really claimed what role and what job I was doing. Because I think what happens is a lot of us can get head down doing the work without being focused on what role are you actually serving right now inside of the whole of your company.
Yes. And that's funny. I always describe the roles in our company as hats. And when I walk into companies, I
whole of your company.
I always describe the roles in our company as hats. And when I walk into companies,
inside of the whole of your company.
I always describe the roles in our company as hats. And when I walk into companies, everything in my world is an accessory. If you haven't figured that out, Laura, it's either food or accessories.
Okay, we're like the same person. I constantly use food analogies and I talk about like what you're wearing. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things that's really important, especially in organizations, that may not have an may not have an org chart, or it's not like yours or mine. Everybody understands. I always do.
What role are you actually serving right now inside of the whole of your company?
I always describe the roles in I always describe the
whole of your company.
I always describe the roles in our company as hats. And when I walk into companies, everything in my world is an accessory. If you haven't figured that out, Laura, it's either food or accessories.
Okay, we're like the same person. I constantly use food analogies and I talk about like what you're wearing. Yes.
Yeah,
again.
Exactly. And so one of the things that's really important, especially in organizations that may not have an org chart, or it's not like yours or mine, everybody understands the hats to wear. And I walk in and I have to find the hats that have been forgotten. What hats have been forgotten? And usually they revolve around the service or some sort of the delivery model. There's been an assumption that, well, we put it in place so it never has to change.
Oh my goodness. Thank
There's
you.
the
Yes.
assumption that somebody else is taking care of that in our company. And to really recognize, because hello, in small organizations, and I'd say all the way up to 100 people here, small organizations, everybody's wearing more than one hat. Some are our own, some we share with other people. But if we don't know which are our own and which ones other people are their own, and which ones we're supposed to be are their own and their own and are their they are their people, they are their own, and which ones other people, they are their own, and ones other people, we don't know which are our own, and which ones other people, they are their own, and which ones other people are their own, and which ones we're supposed to be sharing. How do we know?
I love it. I love that you just said that. And
ones we're supposed to be sharing? How do we know? How do we?
I love that you just said that.
Supposed to be sharing. How do we know?
I love that you just said that.
We're supposed to be sharing. How do we know?
I love that you just said that. And there's also one other really important thing. I love what you're saying about the hats is so many people want to use automation inside of their business. And one of the things that I have found is I don't know a single process in my entire history of running my business and anybody else's business that there isn't a human manual component along with an automated system. And I think what happens is the moment we do you remember Ron Popeil and the set it and forget it thing?
Oh, yes.
And forget it thing. We do you remember Ron Popeil and the set it and forget it thing?
Oh, yes.
I may be dating myself, but we tend to do set it and forget it inside. On the set it and forget it thing. I may be dating myself, but remember Ron Popeil and the set it and forget it? I may be dating myself. Happens is the moment we do you remember Ron Popeil and the set it and forget it? I may be dating I may be dating on the set it and forget it. I may be dating myself on the set it and forget it. I may be dating myself. on Popeil and the set it and forget it. I may be dating myself, but we tend to do set it and forget it inside of our business. And then you don't know what is broken if something's broken. Like another thing that I do when I think is broken, if another thing that I business and then you don't know what is broken, if another thing that I do, and I think this is a great like business and then you don't know what is broken. If another thing that I do, and I think this is a great like little it inside of our business and then you don't know what is broken. Another thing that I do, and I think this is a great like little golden nugget, is every time that like little golden nugget is every time that something doesn't go well with my clients or inside my team, I thank the person for helping me see a place that we need to strengthen. So like if a client doesn't get something, like we found out there was a funny little SOP the other day that a welcome packet had a welcome packet the other day that the other day that a welcome packet had always been inside of like the email delivery, always been inside of like it had always been inside of the email delivery system for one of our programs. And then I changed the program slightly, added something in, and somehow that one little piece didn't get carried over. Yeah, and so when my client carried over. So when my client showed up and didn't get carried over. So when my client showed up and said, I didn't get it, because I was like, well, you know, I didn't get your welcome packet. And she's like, I didn't get a welcome packet. And I went, uh-oh, no welcome packet. But then I said, thank you. And suddenly she, like, this was an engendering moment. She suddenly is like, I'm on your team. She's like, I found the problem and I'm helping you fix it. And I genuinely thanked her for it. And now we have that system back in place. So I think that, so I think that, and I'm not sure exactly when you'll be listening to this, if you're listening to this now or down the road, but I think things like having, now we have that system back in place. So I think that things like having COVID and now we have that system back in place. So I think that, and now we have that system back in place. Things like having COVID and quarantine and everything has had us have an artificial or and everything has had us have an artificial or outside pause in our business where we can redecide to like, do we want to keep this? Do we want to let this go? But I've always done in my business set times where my team and I sit down and we do almost like, I don't like the word sit down and we do almost like, I don't like the word stress test, but like a system check. Like, is the way that, but like a system check. Is the way that we're doing things still working? We still working. We consciously decide to look at it and we keep it or we let it go, as opposed to just chugging along and waiting for something to come along and that doesn't work.
Oh yeah, that proactive piece is incredibly important. And it does come back to the hats that we're wearing and making sure of that. Because, and by the way, I'm in complete agreement with we're wearing and making sure of that. By the way, I'm in complete agreement with you. There's a lot that we can automate, But if there are no eyes checking in on that, how do we know? How do we know? We can have reports running all day long, but if we're never looking at the outputs of those reports, right? Who hasn't talked to us and looking at the outputs of those reports, who hasn't talked to us in 30 days? Who hasn't, who hasn't opened in 30 days? Who hasn't talked to us in 30 days? Who hasn't opened an email in a while? Who didn't schedule, who usually, who hasn't opened an email in a while? Schedule, who usually schedule, hasn't opened an email in a while? Who usually, is scheduling their appointments with us, or getting in a while, is scheduling their appointments with us, or getting on our calendar in a while, is scheduling their appointments with us or getting on our calendar that all of a sudden seems to be MIA. And that is the human element that I love technology and I love automation. Don't get me wrong, I love that because now we can see things like that. Instead of going, well, I am the process and I have to do all of those things, I get to be stress testing in the moment. I get to be problem solving and ensuring that the values of the company, the role that I am in, how I contribute to this matters. The role that I am in, how I contribute to this matters. Ooh. We're kind of like talking about everybody. We're kind of like talking about everybody being part of the, the delivery process. Everybody being part of the delivery process, aren't we? We're kind of like talking about everybody being part of the delivery process. Kind of like talking about everybody being part of the delivery process, aren't we? The delivery process, being part of the delivery process, aren't we?
They are. And actually, I really, okay, so you said something.
Being part of the delivery process, aren't we?
You said something that just had me go like,
everybody being part of the delivery process, aren't we?
You said something that just had me go like, yes, yes, yes. So one of the things that I do with my clients is we sit down and talk about the core values of the company. And I'm not talking like the surface levels or like if you've ever done any personal development, you're like, what are my core values? I mean, core values of a company. And when we have those in place, the coolest thing happens. And I usually have values of a company. I mean, core values of a company. And when we have those in place, the coolest thing happens. And I usually in place, the coolest thing happens. And I usually have my clients list them in order of deal breaker ability. And what I mean by that is if you're like bringing a human ability, and what I mean by that is if you're like bringing a human team member in, they need to match a human team member in, they need to match all the core values. If you're being interviewed on a podcast, the podcast probably only has to match like, let's say there's 5 in there. They probably only need to match like 4. It's a smaller thing or a bigger thing, depending on how much they need to match them. But the coolest part about having the core values is actually you can have different people inside of your company who have different personalities, different ways of communicating with people, and it still matches the value of your company. Because I have 2 lovely women who I have two lovely women who matches the value of your company, because value of your company. I have two lovely women who play a role that interact with my clients. I have lots of people role that interact with my clients. I have lots of people who do lots of things, but these two primary people interact with my clients. And one of them, she is like the hug, love mom that we all want and need. And her communication style is just like flourishing. It's amazing. And my other gal is like, let's get it taken care of now. And here's the coolest part. I get the same comments about both of them from the same people. Wow, they're so amazing. They represent you. They like share the way you share. They helped me the way you would help me. And it's funny because they do it in such different ways, but because they're matched to our core values. And in fact, I use Colby and human design inside of my business for like assessments. And one of my assistants reached out to me and she's like, Laura, I need to understand, how do we get along so well when technically on paper we should be butting heads? Because we should. Her Colby and my Colby are like diametrically opposed.
Wow.
We should have we should opposed strictly opposed. Like we should not be able to communicate very well. But the reason why we do communicate very well is our personal core values are like 90% matched up, and we're both bought in 100% to my company core values. And when the core values align,
are your core values Are your core values for your company different than your personal values?
A slight tweak.
Is for your company different than your personal values?
A slight tweak.
Values for your company different than your personal values?
A slight tweak. And the only reason why I say a slight tweak to them is because I do actually believe we're very, like, we are our companies. The only small tweaks are, only small tweaks are, am I allowed to curse on this show?
You know what? You can behind the scenes. Okay. It's totally fine. And if we pick this one, it's all good. We'll bleep
it. Okay, good. Well, because I get different rules with different people.
Yeah.
So I have a rule inside. I have different people.
Yeah.
Very, like, we are our companies. The only small tweaks are, so I have a rule inside of my company called don't fuck with my money. So I have a rule inside of my company called don't fuck with my money. Tweak. And the only reason why I say a slight tweak to them is because I do actually believe we're very, like, we are our companies. The only small tweaks are, so I have a rule inside. A slight tweak. And the only reason why I say a slight tweak to them is because I do actually believe we're very, like, we are
different than your personal values.
A slight tweak.
Core values for your company different than your personal values?
A slight tweak. So I have a rule inside of my
company different than your personal values? Are your core values for your company different than your personal values?
So I have a rule inside of my company called don't fuck with my money.
Yeah.
I don't have that rule inside of my household because we actually share our money together and we are part of the same economy. Yep. I think inside of my business, it's a little bit different. So I would say my core values for who I am as a human being match almost 90% to who my core values are as a company. A few of the differences are like customer service. It's those kind of values are the same as how is our like customer service. Are like customer service. It's those kind of values are the same as how we treat people in life inside of our family. So I think there's some connection. It would be like probably a 90% connection.
Okay. See, in mine, they're not. Isn't that interesting? In mine, I said, okay, here's what Red Direction does. And here are the values that really need to show up. And then I basically interviewed myself. Am I fit to lead a company like this? To make sure what my ideal and what my heart said. So then what I was able to do as I was adding people on was to then, of course, match them to the core values. And sometimes we have a little bit of a different stress because our personal values, our personal values are sometimes we have a little bit of a different stress because our personal values may not be the same, but we all have the same mission. So we're showing up with the same mission, and sometimes we have some difficult conversations. Sometimes we have things that show up and I'm like, how come this is different today? Sometimes we have things that show up and I'm like, how come this is different? I'm like, how come this is different today? but it's a conversation starter and people get to come in and go. So we all buy into the mission and we all buy into the company values. And then we figure out how to work together around that because our personal values are a little bit different. So my personal values are personal values are a little bit different. So my personal values are definitely a big part of it. But my ideal and my vision are definitely a big part of it. But my ideal and my vision for what Red Direction is doing in the world and the change it had to make, I had decided, and the change it had to make, I had decided, and it's kind of cool because I had decided, and I had decided, and it's kind of cool because, by the way, every approach is right. I just want to say that right now. Every approach is right. Approach is right.
Yes.
Every approach is right. Was that every approach is right? Was that this is going to be bigger than just me so much that if it's that if it's just me much that if it's just that if it's just me, we're limited to my growth. I can never grow to the way that I wanted to grow. And that was just the way I started out. And a lot of the companies I work with are transitioning and they're like, uh-oh, I gotta be bigger than just me. Now what?
I love this. It's funny because actually, so like my company is Epic at Sales and my personal brand is Laur Wright. And I understand where there are places that I need to show up as my personal brand and I need my company brand to align to it. So that's why mine are so well matched because it is a different thing. And I love what you're saying because I think we sometimes forget that corporations have their own energy and entity and energy entity, and they're still the human beings that make up the company. Like human beings that make up the company. Like I always think about like one of our, I always think about like one still the human beings that make up one of our core human beings that make up the company. Like I like human beings that make up the company. One of our core values. One of our core. One of our core values and beings that make up the company. One of our core values inside of my company is called done versus perfect. And here's what's really important about this is I like to move fast and I like to get things done. So my do things need to be perfect level goes way down, and it allows my team to make mistakes. And here's what I mean by that. When I say mistakes, I mean if, I'll give you a great example. Sometimes if, I'll give you a great example. And here's what I mean by that. To make mistakes. And here's what I mean by that. I'll give you a great example. Sometimes we have emails that come in that need to be approved and get sent out. Done versus perfect. My thing for my gals is get the email out. I would rather that it went out and was communicating with people versus there was like a comma where there should be a period. It doesn't have to be perfect because again, that's an alignment for my company. It's about moving forward. I find that sometimes people set up core values that actually set their company up for failure. And I don't like to use that word. I have.
Oh, I do. Don't fail, okay. People. Listen to what we're saying.
Right.
They actually become a cage.
Yes. It's also, it's unattainable. So one of my previous clients, it's unattainable. So one of my previous clients, she went through, I don't even know, I want to say like 12 previous clients, she went 12 assistants. And one of my previous clients, she went through 12 assistants. So one of my previous clients, it's unattainable. So one of my previous clients, she went through 12 assistants in like 12 months. It was bad. Oh. Yeah, it was bad. Her rate of churn was, and she's like, no one can. And she's like, it was bad. Her rate of churn was, and she's like, bad. It was bad. Oh. Yeah, it was bad. And she's like, no one can ever satisfy me. No one can ever get this right. And
I'm a recovering one of those.
Yeah. Well, so
I'm a recovering one of those.
Yeah. Well, so we sat down and we realized
I've been there. Everybody listening, I've been this person.
Well, so and again, this is also why I'm so strongly attached to done versus perfect, is because now my team actually knows how to. This is also well, so and again, this is also why I'm so. And she's like, no one can ever satisfy me. No one can ever get this right. And again, this is also why I'm so strongly attached to done versus perfect, is because now my team actually knows how to function and what her quality control was perfect, always perfect and fast. And guess what? Yeah.
Perfection goes down as speed goes up, right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was different. I'll be honest with you. Mine was, it was more, I expected goes up, right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was different. I'll be,
yeah.
Perfection goes down.
And guess what? Yeah. Always perfect and fast. And guess what? Was perfect, always perfect and fast. And guess what?
I expected people to jump in the deep end and try things out more.
Perfect, always perfect and fast. And guess what?
People to jump in the deep end and try things.
Was perfect, always perfect and fast.
I expected people to jump in the deep end and try things out more than they were willing to. That was mine in terms of when I found I was going through, in terms of when I was when I found, that was mine in terms of when I found I was going through people like mad. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? Or they were not delivering the right work product or the wrong work product. There's this phrase I have called the, oh no, I'm going to forget it. It's the cryptic leader effect. Product. There's this phrase I have called the, there's this phrase I have called the cryptic leader. I was the cryptic leader. Delivering the right work product or the wrong work product. There's this phrase I have, the cryptic leader effect. I was the not delivering the right work product or the wrong work product. There's this phrase I have, the cryptic leader effect. I was the cryptic leader, right?
Oh, yes.
Isn't that great? And so I had an expectation that I never communicated. I said, go. And so I had an expectation that I never communicated. Or I said, go figure it out, and was frustrated. Expectation that I never communicated. Or I said, go. And so I had an expectation that I never communicated. Or I said, go figure it out, and was frustrated when their figuring it out wasn't fast enough or like mine or like something else. And I realized took me a lot of people. I apologize, every single one of you people, to figure out. Took me a lot of people. I apologize, every single one of you people, to figure out that I needed to build the bridge.
Yes. So this is why I love the Kolbe assessment.
Yes.
Kolbe assessment A.
I'm a quick start. I'm a high quick start.
I'm a 9 and I know a couple 10s. And when I'm around assessment A,
I'm a quick start. I'm a high quick start.
I'm a 9 and I assessment A. I'm a 9.
Well, I apologize, every single one of you people, to figure out that I needed to build the bridge.
Yes. So this is why I love the Kolbe assessment. Kolbe assessment A. I'm a 9 and I know a couple 10s. And when I'm around 10s, we're just go, go, go. Kolbe assessment A. I'm a 9 and I know a couple assessment. Kolbe assessment A. I'm a 9 and I know a couple 10s. Bridge. Yes. So this is why I love the Kolbe assessment. I'm a 9 and I know a couple 10s. And when I'm around 10s, we're just go, go, go. So one thing I understand is like my team, I have a lot of higher fact finders on my team. And I was doing the same kind of thing. And we, again, when we talked with my team about like, why do we work together when we wouldn't? And what they said is that I am a self-aware quick start. Most quick starts are not self-aware. We jump in. I know that when I give instructions, I'm like, and I say 27 things and I jump out. And I don't announce which one is priority or not. So my team is like, well, let's pick a priority. But because I am actually a self-aware quick start, I know I'm going to do that. So the first thing I say to my team is, I realize I'm jumping topics because I'm in my quick. I realize I'm jumping topics because I'm in my. The first thing I say to my team is, So the first thing I say to my team is, I realize I'm jumping topics because I'm in my quick start mode. So I'm going to jump topics and I announce it.
Exactly. Oh, good for you. I do the same thing.
They can jump with me.
Usually I start the next sentence. I do the same thing. Usually I start the next sentence and went, oh, wait, did anybody have anything else to say before we go? Because yes. Yeah.
You have to like leave room for.
Did anybody have anything else to say? Yeah.
You have to like leave room for letting people ask questions. That's the other thing that I do is when I am in my mode, we use different tools for me. So our Slack channel is for communicating assignments so we can go track it. And then my team goes and puts it in Asana. I don't even have the login to Asana. I should never be in it. It's not for me. And then we use Voxer for me to just brain dump to my assistant. And so when we use different channels for different ways of me communicating, I can be free to be myself and we don't lose things. I have a lot of clients who come to me and they're like, I'm Voxering my person all day long and she's not getting stuff done. I'm like, Voxer is not a place to give assignments because it's not searchable, trackable. It's a place to give more communication. Like Slack, Asana, places where you can type and search and attach documents. That's a searchable place where they can catch assignments. So we have very clear ways and channels to communicate. And again, this keeps our customers happy, keeps my team happy. I don't have to go back and be like, have you ever given like a task and then been like, did that get done? Did that not get done? I don't have that in my company because we have a system for where assignments are directed and delivered. And my team, again, this is core values, but ways we communicate. We have this thing in my company where I put something out and I don't expect my team to do it immediately, but I expect them to have a quick response that tells me they saw it. And then when it's completed, they put in the same place completed. And what's awesome about that is I don't ever have to hunt them down. I don't ever think, did they do it or not do it? I don't ever have to go back to close the loop. They are managing their own projects.
Fantastic. We have a similar process. Asana did not work for our company. Similar process. We have a similar process. Asana did not work for our company. And I do have to be in it. This is a skill that I must learn. This is a skill that I must learn for a variety of reasons. And so the good news is, for a variety of reasons, the good news is making sure the stuff gets the good news is making sure the stuff gets done and modeling it for my team has been the best thing ever for me because I'm recognizing, okay, who's showing up to this? How are they using I'm recognizing, okay, who's showing up to this? How are they using it? What do I actually need this to be? Because really, I'm not at one end of the process. I'm somewhere, my hats are somewhere at the beginning, the middle, the process. I'm somewhere, my hats are my hats are somewhere at the beginning, the process. I'm somewhere, my hats are not at one end of the process. My hats are somewhere at the beginning, the middle, toward the end, and after the end, right? And so for me, and after the end. And so for me, sometimes people are waiting on me, and I was recognizing, when am I the bottleneck here? When am I in the, people are waiting on me, and I was recognizing, when am I the bottleneck here? I am preventing the rest of my team to go do what they need to do, so that I can keep bringing in new clients, so that they can do the outreach that we need to do, so that whatever is happening is going on. And so we use those tools to ensure we have no bottlenecks anywhere. And that comes to our delivery model. So we've got our daily tasks and all that wonderful stuff, but I am actually using it. My stress test is, where is the bottleneck, which is usually me. I'll be completely honest. It's usually me. The higher up you go, the more of the stuff there is to do. And there is to do. And here's an interesting place. More of the stuff there is to do. Here's an interesting place that I have found, and I'm actually actively in it. And I'm actually active. Interesting place that I have found, and I'm actually actively in it right now. In it right now, and that is, all right, supporter listeners, I'm here today with Laur. In it right now, and that is people coming to me now, and that is people coming to me for approval instead of just going and getting their job done somehow, because I don't like that. I don't want to be the bottleneck, and I don't want to be the bottleneck. That I don't. Because I don't like that. I don't want to be the bottleneck, and somehow